That's the signal for me to get talking. And I haven't, as usual, not everything is perfectly organized as I want it when I start, but that's the way it goes. Hello, everybody who's watching. No one is watching right now, so all those who are watching in the future from now, hi. I want to put this on record regarding the title. One of the titles being JiL to answer PineCreek. Now, JiL is Rebuke and Reprove. That's his YouTube channel, and he has allocated a time being tomorrow, November the 21st, 2021, at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So that'll be 1 o'clock Eastern. And 12 o'clock Central. I think that's the way it works. So I just want I want you to guys know that this guy here is going to respond to PineCreek's challenge to Christians. Now, what does that mean? What do you mean PineCreek's challenge to Christians? I haven't heard PineCreek challenge to Christians. Well, we're going to hear it now. Okay, this is PineCreek's challenge to Christians. Let me key it up here. Let me make it look a little better. I don't like the way it looks. I don't like the way it looks at all. So how about something like, yeah, that looks okay. Okay, so what's this all about? Well, ladies and gentlemen, you're about to find out. Let me just fade it slowly so I can get everything, so I can find where even the there it is. Okay, you ready? This is what Rebuke and Reprove is going to answer tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Pacific.
I have a challenge for Christians. I think very rarely do you have the opportunity to state clearly, unabashedly, what you believe. So this is the challenge. The challenge is I have 8 things that I think a lot of Christians believe are just facts of history according to the Bible. And I'm giving you the opportunity to record yourself saying what you believe. And I would love if you could send them in to me so I could hear you say it. There's a verse in the New Testament that says that if you're not willing to acknowledge God before men, he won't acknowledge you in heaven. So I tried very hard to write the things out as clear as possible with verses to support it. So let's get started. And again, don't say these things unless you believe them. So number 1, I believe a snake or serpent talked. So if you believe that, I challenge you to say it out loud and record yourself saying it. Number 2, I believe a man lived in the belly of a great fish for 3 days. Number 3, I believe that Jesus ordered the stoning of rebellious children. Now, I said Jesus here. Some people might say, well, that was God or Yahweh. But, there's only one God, so they're just different names for the same thing. Number 4, I believe Jesus said that the Israelites could take virgin women for themselves and give 32 virgin women to Jesus. Number 5, I believe that Jesus sanctioned abortion or the killing of the unborn if an unfaithful wife was pregnant. So if you believe that, I challenge you to say it out loud and record it. Number 6, I believe that many dead people came out of the graves when Jesus died. Number 7, I believe that Jesus ordered that a husband should be the first one to throw a stone at his wife if she leads him away from the belief. Number 8, I believe that Jesus stopped Abraham from sacrificing his son, but didn't stop Jephthah from sacrificing his daughter. So I challenge you to figure out what of these 8 things you believe, and if you do believe them, state it, record it, and send it to me. And I will try my hardest to do the same thing, same challenge for Muslims, Hindus, and maybe some other religions.
Okay, so here we go. Ooh, that looks a little big. How can you possibly see through that? Make it smaller. All right, so this is what PineCreek has. There you go. That's PineCreek right up there, and I'll just put that there. All right, so I'm just wondering, do we need to verify each one of these? Because I have a Bible, and it looks to me like each one of these challenges, these Christians or these sayings, comes from the Jewish Bible. Let's grab it. Oops. All right, so we've got time. Why don't we go through each one? Genesis chapter 3 verse 1. Genesis chapter 3 okay, there we go. Genesis, the first one is Genesis chapter 3 verse 1, and this is what is written. Chapter 3 verse 1. It says, "Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. And he said unto the woman, Yea, hath God said, Ye shall not eat of any tree of the garden." Okay, so that's number 1. I believe the snake serpent talked. Well, it says that, right? Number 2, Jonah 1:17. Now, where is Jonah part of the prophets or what? Let me just double check here, because Jonah, yeah, he's part of volume 2, which is the writings and the prophets. Or should I say, the prophets and the writings. So what am I looking for here? Jonah 1:17. Oops. How far in is Jonah? Jonah. Oh, Jonah, you're not very. I couldn't find him. Hold on a second. We're going to go through this, and we're going to verify each one of these challenges. Make sure that they are actually. That's what's written in there, or in the scriptures. Jonah 14:66. All right. So what are we looking for? Jonah 1:17. Okay, there's Jonah 1. Hold on a second. Let me come down this way. Put some light. I need light. Oops. Actually, we could make this a lot easier, a lot simpler looking at. I'll make that there. And just give me one moment, please. Yeah, I think we should do this. There. That is better. That is way better. Just give me a moment, all right? Actually, doesn't make a damn bit of difference. what I got to do. Sorry for talking to myself, but I'm talking my way through here. Through a, oh, there we go. There we go. Okay. I don't know how to, well, let me, no, I'll just leave it like that. Here you go. Okay, so, Jonah 1:17. I don't have it, John 17. It goes up to 16. Sorry, the Jonah that I have doesn't. Doesn't go. Chapter 1 goes up to verse 16. So what am I missing? Could there have been? And is there a typo somewhere? Oh, hold on a sec. Maybe it's not 1:17. I believe a man lived in the belly of a great fish for 3 days. All right. When does he find this damn fish? Maybe to 11:17. I don't know. I don't even know when he goes into the fish, but I'm looking for it. Give me a moment. Thank you for your patience. Because I know he goes somewhere and gets. Oh, he goes in the ship somewhere, and then he. I'm just trying to find out where he gets when the fish comes. Does the fish come in the beginning of the story? Probably. Looks like it anyway. Well, PineCreek, Doug, I don't believe that there is a Jonah 1:17. At least not in the Hebrew. Not in the Hebrew Bible, dude. Oh, okay. I believe a man lived in. Okay, here we go. Sorry. It is not 1:17. Jonah 1:17. That is incorrect. According to the Hebrew Bible, it is Jonah 2, verse 1. 2, verse 1. And the Lord prepared a great fish to swallow up Jonah, and Jonah was in the belly of the fish 3 days and 3 nights. Okay, so that is not correct. Number 2, I believe a man lived in the belly of a fish for 3 days is Jonah 2, verse 1. I'm not making any changes. I am just letting you know. You see? Let me throw myself down here for a second. You see? There you go. Maybe I'll put myself there. Okay, so that's question number 2 for you. Rebuke and reprove. Number 3 is from Deuteronomy, which is volume 1. So it's Deuteronomy 21. I believe that Jesus ordered the stoning of rebellious children. Okay, Deuteronomy 21. Deuteronomy. Where is Deuteronomy? Oh, there it is. Deuteronomy what? 21. Deuteronomy 21. Verse 18 through 21. Alright, so 18 through Holy shit. Okay. So, Deuteronomy chapter 21, verses 18 through 21. It's pretty long. Well, it's a paragraph. If a man have a stubborn and rebellious son that will not hearken to the voice of his father or the voice of his mother, and though they chasten him, will not hearken unto them, then shall his father and his mother lay hold on him and bring him out unto the elders of the city and unto the gate of his place. And they shall say unto the elders of the city, This our son is stubborn and rebellious. He doth not hearken to our voice. He is a glutton and a drunkard. And all the men of his city shall stone him with stones, that he die. So shalt thou put away the evil from the midst of thee, and all Israel shall hear and fear. All right, so that's number 3, the stoning of rebellious children until they die. Okay, number 4. I believe Jesus said that the Israelites could take virgin women for themselves and give 32 virgin women to Jesus. Let's fact check that one, shall we? Numbers. We're going to go to Numbers now. Numbers what? Numbers. 31, chapter 31 of Numbers. 31. Oh my God. Don't make me go to chapter 31 of Numbers. All right, so a little bit too far. Okay, chapter 31. There's 31. Okay, what are we looking for? 31 to 40. Ooh, look at that. There's 40. Oh my goodness, 31. 31. Oh my God, it's on the first page here. $30, 31 to 40. All right, so Numbers chapter 31, verses 31 to 40. It's regarding, I believe Jesus said that the Israelites could take virgin women for themselves and give 32 virgin women to Jesus. All right. What does the Bible say? Let's dig deep, shall we? All right, so what verses here? 31 to 40. And Moses and Eleazar the priest did as the Lord commanded Moses. Now the prey, over and above the booty which the men of war took, was 600,000 and 70,000 and 5,000 sheep, and 12,000 beeves, and 1,000 asses, and 32,000 persons in all, of the women that had not known man by lying with him. And the half, which was the portion of them that went out to war, was in number 300,000 and 30,000 and 7,500 sheep. And the Lord's tribute of the sheep was 660 and 15. And the beeves were 36,000, of which the Lord's tribute was 312. And the asses were 30,500, of which the Lord's tribute was 61. And the persons were 16,000, of whom the Lord's tribute was 32 persons. And Moses gave the tribute which was set apart for the Lord unto Eleazar the priest, as the Lord commanded Moses. And the children of Israel's half, which Moses divided off from the men that warred. What was that? Israelites could take virgin women. I didn't see that. That didn't jump out at me. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Now the prey, over and above the booty, which the men of war took, were so many sheep, and so many beeves, and so many asses, and 32,000 persons in all, of the women that had not known men by lying with him. So they found 32,000 young virgin women who they kept alive. But I don't see where the 32, maybe I missed the 32. I don't know. That's all confusing for me. But let's run across to number 5. I believe that Jesus sanctioned abortion, killing of the unborn, if an unfaithful wife was pregnant. Okay, so that's Numbers. Oh, we're on Numbers, so we just got to go back a bit. Numbers 5. Let me go to Numbers 5 in my Bible. Whoa, where are you? Numbers 5. Hopefully, oh shit, I'm way too far ahead. Here we go. 15. A long way to go. 8. Yeah, we're getting there. Alright, I think we're getting to Numbers 5. Ah, for Christ's sake. Come on, man. Why is Numbers so long? Who commissioned Numbers? Who of you commissioned the work of Numbers? It's too long. Anyway, I think I found 5. Numbers 5, 19 through 21. All right. 19. There we go. Okay, so 19 through 21. What are we trying to find? I believe that Jesus sanctioned abortion, killing of the unborn, if an unfaithful wife was pregnant. You ready for this? Rebuke and reprove. 19 through 21. All right. And the priest shall cause her to swear, and shall say unto the woman, if no man have lain with thee, and if thou hast not gone aside to uncleanness, being under thy husband, be thou free from this water of bitterness that causeth the curse. But if thou hast gone aside, being under thy husband, and if thou be defiled, and some man have lain with thee besides thy husband, then the priest shall cause the woman to swear with the oath of cursing, And the priest shall say unto the woman, The Lord make thee a curse and an oath among thy people, when the Lord doth make thy thigh to fall away, and thy belly to swell, and this water that causeth the curse shall go into the bowels, and make thy belly to swell, and thy thigh to fall away. And the woman shall say, Amen, Amen. And the priest shall write these curses in a scroll, and he shall blot them out into the water of bitterness. Did he sanction it? Well, I guess he did. That sounds like everything, your bowels and the curse and the belly, everything swell, fall away. Yeah, yeah. Oh, rebuke and reprove. You got some dodging to do. Okay, number 6. I believe that many people came out of the graves when Jesus died. Oh, Matthew 27. Okay, I got to go to. Hold on a sec. I got to go to the Christian Bible. Let me grab it. Okay. Matthew chapter 27. Matthew. It's the first book, isn't it? All right, chapter 27, verse 52. Chapter 27. Oh, 25. I'm sorry, but this Bible's like really small. 26. And what am I looking for? 27. There it is. I'm not sure I'll be able to even see the print. But we'll try. Okay, so 27. Matthew 27, verse 52 is as follows. Hey, hold on, I'm not there yet. 52. Oh, must be on this page. What we're trying to prove here, I believe that many dead people came out of the graves when Jesus died. Verse 52. 52. Matthew chapter 27, verse 52. And tombs opened. The bodies of many godly men and women who had died were raised from the dead. Baby, you rebuke and reprove. I'd hate to be in your shoes tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Okay, what else we got here? Number 7, I believe that Jesus ordered that a husband should be the first one to throw a stone at his wife if she leads him away from belief. Ooh, that's heavy. And that's Deuteronomy. I've got to find Deuteronomy. Okay, I found Deuteronomy chapter 13. Deuteronomy. Oops. Chapter 13, verse what? 6 through 10. 6 through 10. Here we go. Okay, number 7. Deuteronomy 13, 6 through 10. Where is 10? I've got to get my bearings on this Bible. Just give me one moment. So, there's 6. And there's 9. And there's 10. Okay, cool. All right. So Deuteronomy chapter 13, verses 6 through 10. And that prophet or that dreamer of dreams shall be put to death, because he hath spoken perversion against the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, and redeemed thee out of the house of bondage, to draw thee aside out of the way which the Lord thy God commanded thee to walk in. So shalt thou put away the evil from the midst of thee. If thy brother, the son of thy mother, or thy son, or thy daughter, or the wife of thy bosom, or thy friend, that is as thine own soul, entice thee secretly, saying, Let us go and serve other gods, which thou hast not known, thou nor thy fathers, of the gods of the peoples that are round about you, nigh unto thee or far off from thee, from the one end of the earth even unto the other end of the earth. Thou shalt not consent unto him, nor hearken unto him, neither shall thine eye pity him, neither shalt thou spare, neither shalt thou conceal him, but thou shalt surely kill him. Thy hand shall be first upon him to put him to death, and afterwards the hand of all the people. Woo! That's a tough one to to dodge there, buddy. Okay, so that definitely, if stone a wife, it should lead him away from belief. Okay, and the last one, finally, number. Okay, it's in two parts. So I believe that Jesus stopped Abraham from sacrificing his son, but didn't stop Jephthah from sacrificing his daughter. Woo! Okay, so Genesis 22. Let's go there first. That would be very interesting to find out. Genesis 22. Hold on a second. I'm going backwards in the Bible. Genesis 22. I'm getting a lot of use out of this Bible now that I've become an atheist activist. Okay, 22, 1 through 19. Oh, come on. Don't make it so long. Christ. What's not so long, is it? Just give me 1 second. I've got to figure out how long this thing is. 22. Jesus, this is like seriously long, dude. Don't make me read all this. Gotta be joking. Got to be joking, man. Alright, so this is going to be a long one. Sorry. So we're going to okay, so you have to believe that Jesus stopped Abraham from sacrificing his son. according to Genesis 22, 1 through 19, and I will try and get through this as quickly as possible. Okay, so Genesis 22, verses 1 through 19. And it came to pass after these things that God did prove Abraham, and said unto him, Abraham. And he said, Here am I. And he said, Take now thy son, thine only son, whom thou loved, even Isaac, and get thee into the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains which I will tell thee of. And Abraham rose early in the morning, and saddled his ass, and took 2 of his young men with him, and Isaac his son. And he cleaved the wood for the burnt offering, and rose up, and went unto the place of which God had told him. On the 3rd day Abraham lifted up his eyes, and saw the place afar off. And Abraham said unto his young men, Abide ye here with the ass, and I and the lad will go yonder. We will worship and come back to you. And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering, and laid it upon Isaac his son. And he took in his hand the fire and the knife, and they went both of them together, like lighting the wick. And Isaac spoke unto Abraham his father, and said, My father? And he said, Here am I, my son. And he said, Behold the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering? And Abraham said, God will provide himself the lamb. But God will provide himself the lamb for a burnt offering, my son. So they went both of them together. And they came to the place where God had told him of, and Abraham built the altar there, and laid the wood in order, and bound Isaac his son, and laid him on the altar upon the wood. And Abraham stretched forth his hand, and took the knife to slay his son. And the angel of the Lord called unto him out of heaven, and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, Here am I. And he said, Lay not thy hand upon the lad, neither do thou anything unto him, for now I know that thou art a God-fearing man, seeing thou hast not withheld thy son, thine only son, from me. That'll cover it. All right, so Jesus stopped Abraham from sacrificing his son. It says so in the book. Now we have to go to Judges, chapter 11. If I can find that, I will do that. Where is Judges? Is Judges in the old or the new? I don't know. Oh, Judges is in the volume 1 part of it. It's important, I guess. All right, we're going to finally get to the end of this. There's Judges 11. Judges chapter 11. There we go. Nine. Oh, what the hell? Okay, what am I looking for? Judges 11. 12. Judges 11, 30 through 39. All right, 30. Okay, I think I have it here. So, what we're trying to see is that Jesus didn't stop Jephthah from sacrificing his daughter. All right, let's see if it actually happened that way. Judges chapter 11, verses 30 through 39. And Jephthah vowed a vow unto the Lord, and said, If thou wilt indeed deliver the children of Ammon into my hand, then it shall be that whatsoever cometh forth of the doors of my house to meet me, when I return in peace from the children of Ammon, it shall be the Lord's, and I will offer it up for a burnt offering. So Jephthah passed over unto the children of Ammon to fight against them, and the Lord delivered them into his hand. And he smote them from Arur until thou come to Minnith, even 20 cities, and unto Abel Cheramim, Abel Cheramim, with a very great slaughter. So the children of Ammon were subdued before the children of Israel. And Jephthah came to Mizpah unto his house, and behold, his daughter came out to meet him with timbrels and with dances, and she was his only child. Beside her he had neither son nor daughter. And it came to pass, when he saw her, that he rent his clothes, and said, Alas, my daughter, thou hast brought me very low, and thou art become my troubler. For I have opened my mouth unto the Lord, and I cannot go back. And she said unto him, My father, thou hast opened thy mouth unto the Lord, do unto me according to that which hath proceeded out of thy mouth. For as much as the Lord hath taken vengeance for thee of thine enemies, even of the children of Ammon. And she said unto her father, Let this thing be done for me. Let me alone 2 months, that I may depart and go down upon the mountains and bewail my virginity, I and my companions. And he said, Go. And he sent her away for 2 months. And she departed, she and her companions, and bewailed her virginity upon the mountains. And it came to pass at the end of 2 months that she returned unto her father, who did with her according to his vow which he had vowed. And she had not known man. And it was a custom in Israel that the daughters of Israel want yearly to lament the daughter of Jephthah the Gileadite 4 days in a year. Now, rebuke and reprove. Why then did this dude Jephthah allow his daughter to be killed? Can somebody tell me? I honestly don't think anyone will. I don't think anyone can. All right, so there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is the first part of my stream today. That was to let you know that the rebuking of PineCreek Doug will be tomorrow morning, November the 21st at 10 a.m. on Rebuke and Reprove's channel. I don't know if I've put it in there yet, but I will. I'm pretty sure I did, because I want to watch it. I want to see what he says. I now understand all the points, all 8 of them, and according to, I'm going to play it again, all right, so that we all know exactly what's going on here. This is what's going to happen tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock Pacific time. Rebuke and Reprove is going to answer these 8 challenges. And because I don't want to be in the way, I'm going to remove myself, and here you go. This is to conclude. This is everything that Rebuke and Reprove will be talking about, will be confessing, will be saying out loud tomorrow morning.
I have a challenge for Christians. I think very rarely do you have the opportunity to state clearly, unabashedly, what you believe. So this is the challenge. The challenge is I have 8 things that I think a lot of Christians believe are just facts of history according to the Bible. And I'm giving you the opportunity to record yourself saying what you believe. And I would love if you could send them in to me so I could hear you say it. There's a verse in the New Testament that says that if you're not willing to acknowledge God before men, he won't acknowledge you in heaven. So I tried very hard to write the things out as clear as possible with verses to support it. So let's get started. And again, don't say these things unless you believe them. So number 1, I believe a snake or serpent talked. So if you believe that, I challenge you to say it out loud and record yourself saying it. Number 2, I believe a man lived in the belly of a great fish for 3 days. Number 3, I believe that Jesus ordered the stoning of rebellious children. Now, I said Jesus here. Some people might say, well, that was God or Yahweh, but there's only one God, so they're just different names for the same thing. Number 4, I believe Jesus said that the Israelites could take virgin women for themselves and give 32 virgin women to Jesus. Number 5, I believe that Jesus sanctioned abortion, or the killing of the unborn, if an unfaithful wife was pregnant. So if you believe that, I challenge you to say it out loud and record it. Number 6, I believe that many dead people came out of the graves when Jesus died. Number 7, I believe that Jesus ordered that a husband should be the first one to throw a stone at his wife if she leads him away from the belief. Number 8, I believe that Jesus stopped Abraham from sacrificing his son, but didn't stop Jephthah from sacrificing his daughter. So I challenge you to figure out what of these 8 things you believe And if you do believe them, state it, record it, and send it to me. And I will try my hardest to do the same thing, same challenge for Muslims, Hindus, and maybe some other religions. So I look forward to hearing from you.
All right. Okay, so as you can tell, the room is open. The Google Meety, the Meety Weety. So I'm going to set that up. I do have another segment, so don't worry. I'm not going to just go silent. But what I do want to do is set up the here. Let me show you. Let me show you what I want to do. Okay, let me get out of here. All right, so there basically is the room with a view. The room with a view to the future. And that is. How come I can't find what I'm looking for? Isn't it? Hey, that's got to be the title of a song, surely. I can't find what I'm looking for. Something. I don't know what I know. All right. I'm just gonna abandon that. Go to the next one. All right, so let me just get this started here. So in this one, that's good there. All right, in this one here, what I want to tell you is firstly the room is open. The link at the top you may use at your convenience, but I also want to put it on the screen if I can find it. Here's the call in. Might as well just leave that one there. So there you go for that. And essentially what we're going to do is, I don't know who's plagiarizing from who. Maybe you can help me. Maybe you can help me. Who is plagiarizing from who? And hello Bill. Hello, God equals the square root of -1, and Carlos, Martinez, Infinity, and Bill. Did I tell you what my idea of the side chat in YouTube is? That it's a whole community on its own. What goes on here, what happens here in the live, at least not so much in the live, but in the chat room, for example, is one thing, and what happens here in the conversation, in the voice talk, in the video talk, is one thing, and what happens in the YouTube side chat is a whole different thing. It's like different people in different rooms, and they don't cross. So that is why mostly I don't look at the side chat. I am now, because I'm not quite sure what I'm doing in terms of setting things up. Look, I haven't got it really together here, but that's okay. I'll figure it out. Oh, there we go. There's one thing figured out. All right, and the next thing I wanted to do, I needed to give you the link, the actual link, if you wanted to join, say, there we go. That's got to be it. If you actually wanted to join through the Google Meet app, there's the link right up there. Okay, so I don't know if it's Darth Dawkins plagiarizing Greg Bahnsen, or if it's Greg Bahnsen plagiarizing Darth Dawkins. I'm going to play you something. And the person talking is somebody by the name of Greg Bahnsen. And what he says sounds suspiciously similar, if not exactly an exact copy of what Darth Dawkins says and preaches and uses as his logic, etc., etc. So I'm wondering, this is a potential lawsuit issue if Greg Bahnsen is copying what Darth Dawkins is preaching, because doesn't Darth Dawkins, hasn't he thought everything out for himself? Isn't he smart? Doesn't he have his own argument after deep and thorough research covering years? I would think so. And then I come across this, and I think it's a travesty that somebody would take Darth Dawkins' writings and his speeches and his words and claim them for himself. Listen to it. He doesn't give Darth Dawkins even one mention. He doesn't say once that this, everything I'm telling you is I learned from Darth Dawkins. Not once. If you're ready to go, if you're ready for me to continue, then I need you to get up, circle your chair 7 times, do a wiggle, a jiggle, and a jig, and then sit down, and we shall commence. Okay, so a critique of atheism by Greg Bahnsen, but he copies Darth Dawkins. Prove me wrong.
All right, I've told you the various kinds of worldviews that are available. I've told you that when you do an internal critique of these worldviews, you're going to be looking for arbitrariness or inconsistency. You have that in mind? Now let me do an internal critique of materialistic atheism. Let's see what kind of problems the atheist has in his worldview.
Are you already starting to sense something is sounding familiar, some deja vu?
When we get done, I think you'll be rather surprised. From a philosophical standpoint, atheism has no credibility whatsoever. Some people want to know how we can defend the Bible as the Word of God or Christianity as a worldview. And Dr. Van Til used to put it this way, very simply put, our apologetic is that unless Christianity is true, you can't prove anything at all. The proof that Christianity is true is that without it, you can't prove anything at all.
That you've heard before from Darth Dawkins. Now, this guy is copying word for word what Darth Dawkins has been saying for 10 years. We have it all recorded. We have it all captured. We have it all archived. The same things that this Darth Dawkins has been saying for 10 years. Here comes Greg Bahnsen and rips him off, just totally rips him off word for word. I'm appalled. Listen up. Listen to this.
To put it in a real sophisticated way, the Christian worldview is the transcendental precondition of intelligibility.
You see? The transcendental precondition. This is Darth Dawkins speak, and Greg, you are out of line by stealing from Darth Dawkins.
It is the precondition, what must be the case and assumed to be the case for anything in human experience to be intelligible.
You see? Word for word, Darth Dawkins. Greg Bahnsen, you should be ashamed of yourself for plagiarizing the mellifluent Darth Dawkins.
Okay, the easier way of remembering it is the proof of Christianity is that if it was not true, you couldn't prove anything at all.
You hearing? You hear that? Greg, you should be ashamed of yourself.
So the atheistic materialist comes along and says, well, Christianity's not true. There is no God. There is no soul. There is no afterlife. There's just this life. There's just matter. That's all there is.
Right. So I guess that's the end of the talk, because he's right. That's all there is. So what else should we talk about? I don't know. Are there any floods lately? Are there any riots in the U.S.? I'm just kidding. We'll carry on.
There is no spiritual reality. There's just the physical cosmos. No God, no soul, no afterlife. And that's what we're going to talk about for a few minutes.
Okay, so no God, no soul, no afterlife. He is correct. But is he going to convince himself that he's correct? Let's see. I don't think so.
My answer to that is that if that were the case, you couldn't know that it was the case and you couldn't prove anything at all. The problem of induction might also be called the problem of causality or the uniformity of nature.
Okay, these are obviously very new terms that you've never heard before. Ha 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 ha. Darth Dawkins has made these terms up. You, Greg Bahnsen, are plagiarizing from Darth Dawkins, and I hope that Darth Dawkins launches a copyright lawsuit against you for plagiarizing from him. I'm still appalled.
All science, all of it, all science rests upon inductive inference. Okay, I'm going to explain to you what an inductive inference.
Sorry, but I'm sorry for stopping it. But it's like I'm fascinated that I'm hearing a different voice talking the Darth Dawkins worldview. It's weird.
Inference is in just a second. But the first thing I want to point out is I'm not just talking about biology or physiology or psychology or mathematics. Any science depends upon inductive inference. Inductive inference takes something that we've experienced in the past and projects it into the future. Here's a good example of inductive inference not performed in the science classroom. You get up in the middle of the night and are walking around in the dark and you stub your toe. You go, ouch. The next night when you get up to walk around in the middle of the night in the dark, you're careful not to stub your toe again. Seems very simple. That's an inductive inference. If stubbing my toe last night hurt, stubbing my toe tonight will hurt as well.
I'll tell you where he totally goes wrong with this. Yes, he's right that if stubbing my toe last night hurt, then I'll be careful not to stub my toe tonight. Yes, 100%. But these are just 2 nights out of every single night of your life. So maybe tomorrow or next week or next month, you'll get out of bed and you'll stub your toe again and ow, it's going to hurt. But you'll know that the next day you will be careful not to stub your toe. But that's, that's one stubbing at a time. This is serial toe stubbing he's talking about. Makes no sense. Absolutely no sense. But who am I to challenge the words of the great Darth Dawkins as plagiarized by this Greg Bahnsen? He must be a low-life scumbag.
Because the way things were in the past in terms of causal relationships, bumping your toe in the bedpost like that, leading to pain and going up into your brain, going, ah! That kind of relationship is going to be the kind of relationship I encounter in the future, too. Now, can you see why all science depends upon that? What we learn about the past must be projectable into the future. All science rests upon the uniformity of nature. If there were no uniformity in the natural world, then all your scientific experiments would be a waste of time, wouldn't they? Because you could learn
Yes.
everything you wanted about chemical interactions on Tuesday, but on Wednesday that information would be useless to you. And so, in a very broad sense, induction is the view that the future will be like the past. The future relationships between events will resemble past relationships between events. I will now do a sophisticated scientific experiment for you. What will happen if I let go of this marker? In this room, under the present gravitational barometric conditions, what will happen to this marker? You have never ever seen this experiment done before. Do not try to generalize from apples that have fallen to the floor or silverware that you've knocked off the table. Don't try to generalize at all. You've never seen this experiment. What will happen when I let go of the marker? Do not rely upon past knowledge. What will happen to the marker? What? The good philosophers are saying we have no way of knowing if we can.
I disagree. Okay, with no knowledge, right? Let's do this experiment with him. With no knowledge at all about what would happen. For example, we don't know. I don't know gravity. I don't know anything. And he's holding the marker there. I expect that the marker will just stay there. He lets go, and I don't know what's going to happen, so I'm going to expect the marker to just float there, just stay there. Okay. So let him carry on. That's what I expect, because I don't know. I don't have any prior information.
Can't rely on any past experience. This is the first time we've encountered it. Who knows what will happen the first time? Okay, so
Right.
Now remember that. You don't know. I'm now going to do the experiment. Watch closely. There is no trickery involved. What happened when I let go of this? Fell. Okay, now we're going to.
Okay, so it fell down. So when you let go of the marker, it fell to the ground. Okay, so this is experience. Okay, so now the next time that I let go of the marker, maybe I'm not sure. Maybe it was a coincidence that it fell to the ground. Maybe the next time it'll just stay there, float there. So I'll let go of the marker and it'll drop. And just to be sure, I'll do it a third time. I'll hold the marker up, let go, and I'll see that it drops. Okay, so now I got a pretty good database of what's going to happen when I drop the marker, and gravity will become a general knowledge information piece of information. Okay, so I'll know that when I drop the marker, like he's talking about, it'll fall to the ground every time. Okay, now watch this magic, as DDD says.
We're going to do a second experiment. You now know that one time, 20 seconds ago, this fell when I let go of it. We will presume under the same atmospheric, gravitational, and barometric conditions. What will happen when I let go of it this time? What will happen?
It'll fall to the floor.
You don't know.
You don't know. I'm gonna have an aneurysm here. That's what he says. Every time you let go of a marker, it falls to the floor. But then next time you let go of a marker, you don't know what's gonna happen. Listen to what he says.
And the reason you don't know is because you have no basis for inductive inference. You don't know that the future, or what has become present, will be like the past. That was 20 seconds ago. And you say, yeah, but it's the same conditions. But see, you assume that under the same conditions, one event will lead to the same event.
See how he's already losing himself. So he's definitely copying from Darth Dawkins, because he's starting to get, mired in the mud, in the muck.
You are assuming the uniformity of nature. Now, to be a good philosopher, theoretically, I could let go, and this time it might float upward, right?
Might float upward.
Might turn into a dove.
Might turn into a dove. So to be a good philosopher, you shouldn't expect that the next time you let go of a marker that it will drop to the ground. You should just have an open mind to something. It could anything could happen. It could float away. It could turn into a dove. You know what I mean?
Who knows what would happen when you let go the second time? No one knows unless the past is a key to the future.
Right.
Y'all with me?
Yes, I'm with you.
And now pretend, for argument's sake, that you are an atheistic materialist. I'm a Christian.
Oh, you're a Christian. No
and I
shit.
say, the reason I'm going to the science lab today to continue my investigations is because I know that there is a sovereign personal God who governs this universe, who made it and controls it and has made it regular so that I can learn about it, I can make projections and have dominion over it, to use theological language. I am able to govern chemical reactions and crocodiles, and I can make industrial plants and even rockets that go to the moon because of the information I've learned in the past can be brought together, projected into the future. As a Christian, I have no problem with that. What I want to know is why you are going to the science lab today.
Okay, I got to stop right there. He said he was going to the science lab to do science as a Christian. But how can you, as an atheist, go to the science lab? I do not the whole logic there is gone. There's none. It's incoherent. So if you want, we'll try and listen to that again, because the science lab thing is I didn't get it the first time, and I certainly didn't get it now. So sorry. Let's try it again.
But see, you assume that under the same conditions, this fell when I let go of it. We will presume under the same atmospheric, gravitational, and barometric conditions. What will happen when I let go of it this time? What will happen? You don't know. And the reason you don't know is because you have no basis for inductive inference. You don't know that the future, or what has become present, will be like the past.
Hold on a second. I've got to stop right there. What do you mean you don't know? If the fucking marker drops to the floor every time you let go of it, then you do have a pretty good case for expecting it to drop to the floor again. In fact, it will drop to the floor whether you like it or not. It's axiomatic. It's gravity. Okay? Gravity is basically axiomatic. There's nothing you can do to talk me out of it. But let's get back to that that part that I'm listening to. Hold on.
That was 20 seconds ago. And you say, whoa, yeah, but it's the same conditions. But see, you assume that under the same conditions, one event...
Right. It's coming. He's going to go to the science lab. Now listen to what he says about the science, in the beginning about the science lab.
...will lead to the same event. You are assuming the uniformity of nature. Now,
okay. Oh, so you are assuming the uniformity of nature. In other words, you are assuming that physics and chemistry, that science, that the equations, the constants, the laws that govern the motion and state and existence of our universe, you just think that they are like uniform. That's your uniformity of nature. And how wrong you are, I bet you he's going to try and explain to us.
Be a good philosopher. Theoretically, I could let go, and this time it might float upward.
This is where he says, as a philosopher, theoretically, I could let go, and it might float upwards. Which is, theoretically, as a philosopher, then you're just a dreamer. You're just sitting there, making up shit in your head.
right? Might turn into a dove. Who knows what would happen when
That is a ridiculous claim, Darth Dawkins.
you let go the second time. No one knows unless the past is a key to the future.
Okay, well, the past is a key to the future, maybe. However, we're talking physics and chemistry here, where there's no past in physics and chemistry. There's just a series of events that you can't stop because they have to be those events, because that's the state that chemistry always tries to go to a certain state of zero, and matter always tries to go to a state of I guess inertia, not moving. I don't know, but there's always a vibration. There's always something going on, right? In reality. So what this guy is talking about is he's going to start getting very, very confusing.
Y'all with me? And now pretend, for argument's sake,
okay, here it is,
that you are an atheistic materialist.
Okay, we're pretending to be an atheistic materialist.
I'm a Christian.
And okay, so I'm an atheistic materialist and he's a Christian.
And I say, the reason I'm going to the science lab today to continue my investigations is because I know that there is a sovereign personal God who governs this universe.
Okay, so he's going to the science lab today because he knows that there's a sovereign God that governs this universe. All right, let me just unpack that a little bit. He's going to the science lab because he knows that there's a sovereign God who governs the universe. He's a Christian, and he's going to the science lab because he knows there's a sovereign God who governs the universe.
Made it and controls it. And has made it regular. So that I can learn about it, I can make projections and have dominion over it, to use the...
So that I can have dominion over it, over the science lab.
Theological language. I am able to govern chemical reactions.
All right, so now he's in the science lab doing all science labby shit, right? But the reason that he can go to the science lab in the first place is because he knows that there's a God up there, and he can do science.
And,
because there's a God up there.
Crocodiles, and I can make industrial plants, and even rockets that go to the moon, because of the information I've learned in the past can be brought together, projected into the future. As a Christian, I have no problem with that. What I want to know is why you are going to the science lab today.
What the fuck? A stupid question is that? Why am I, an atheist materialist, going to the science lab today if the only way you can go to a science lab is if you know that there's a creator God who designed all the science that you're going to learn about, or something like that. This is really infantile thinking, Darth Dawkins. Infantile. I think you're showing your true low intellect here. If this is where you if these are the people who copy your work, I don't know, man.
Now, I've tried to do this in a somewhat light-hearted form, so you may not realize this, but that is what's considered a savage criticism. I have savage.
Listen to this claim, this brag.
My opponent. He's dead. He's not getting up off the ground from this one. And let me show you the most common way that a person will try to recover from this problem of induction. The atheist says we live in a random universe. He has no right to rely on inductive inference.
Who says we live in a random universe? I certainly have never said that. I am the atheist. Am I not? Have I ever said to you, dear viewers, that we live in a random universe? And you know how I know that? Because I'm an atheist, and as an atheist, we live in a random universe, and Darth Dawkins obviously is going to jump right on top of that nonsense and try and run with it as, that's what the atheists say, they live in a random universe. How stupid.
Is no reason to...
By the way, what do you even mean by we live in a random universe? We don't live in a random universe. It follows the laws of physics and chemistry, and it's not random in any way whatsoever.
Expect causality or simply the uniformity of nature. He has no basis for believing in the uniformity of nature. But if he...
What does he mean by that? That makes no sense. He has no basis for believing in the You don't believe in the uniformity of nature, Darth Dawkins. The nature is uniform, and you know how we know that? Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 are billions and billions and billions and billions of... Then they're outside the gravity of the sun. That's how far away they are from the solar system. And we're still sending them messages, and they're still responding. And what do you mean we can't rely on the uniformity of nature? If that's not relying on the uniformity of nature, and you know, it's not only done once, it's done twice, because there's a Voyager 1 and there's a Voyager 2. And they both, one went up and one went lateral, I think, and they're outside, or certainly one of them is outside the heliosphere, or whatever it is, outside the energy of the sun, the gravity of the sun. It has no effect on Voyager 2. I think it's Voyager 2 anymore. It's just out there. And it takes like days for signals to travel one way. But it is the Voyager is responding to signals, to instructions. Every time it's sent a signal, it sends one back, like a ping. Yes, I heard you, sort of thing. And I believe it takes like 17 days or something. 17 days or 17 hours. I really don't know, but really long. I mean, I would believe days because it's kind of so far away, but maybe it's 17 hours. We should look into that. Maybe in a discussion room, some science enthusiast will be able to tell me the answer to that one. Henry says there may be truly random events. It's an open question. The uniformity of nature is an open question too. No, the uniformity of nature is governed by the laws of nature, of the laws of physics. Let's just call them the laws of physics, and we might as well call them the laws of chemistry, and we'll just call it general science. Okay, biology and chemistry and physics, general science. There you go. According to the laws of general science, we know how the universe works because we can use them to predict things, like tell the Voyager 2 what to do, and 17 hours later it'll do it. That's what I mean. Okay? So you can't argue with that. It's predictable. It's stable. So you can't say that scientists don't assume the uniformity of nature. Obviously they do. Otherwise they wouldn't be able to track their Voyager 2s, which are outside the solar system. So make your argument more rational, or maybe explain what you mean by uniformity of nature, because maybe I misunderstand you, because you won't come into the room and have a talk about it. You write it in the side chat and expect me to understand your thoughts. Come on into the room. Hey, Bill, why don't you come into the... No, hold on a second. Let me finish this critique of atheism. If you don't want to watch it anymore, absolutely come into the room and I'll switch it off. Quantum events may be truly random. Yeah, okay, so, but quantum events are at the quantum level, right? The quantum physics essentially quantum physics actually discusses the random. It's part of quantum physics. So it means nothing. Because when atoms become molecules, become organisms, become metal, become sand, rocks, boulders, trees, blah 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 blah, becomes humans. When that happens, that is not random. That's all according to a sequence of events. Quantum events, yes, they're random, but we know about it. It's not a big surprise. And that certainly does not disprove the uniformity of nature. The fact that the uniformity of nature works as predicted, and we can actually send people out to space, which is very, very dangerous, a very, very dangerous place to be. We can actually send people out there using the laws of nature, using the laws of physics and chemistry, and use the law of chemistry. How? By making rockets that can withstand the stresses of being outside in space, and you use your chemistry to make special material for the spacesuits and whatnot. So I don't think that a claim that the uniformity of nature cannot be assumed has ever been shown to be a valid claim, one that should be taken seriously. So let's go on. Okay, remember, we're watching somebody who has plagiarized Darth Dawkins, because Darth Dawkins has been spraying this venom for 10 years. And this guy, Greg Bahnsen, comes, grabs all of Darth Dawkins' philosophy, outlook, worldview, and without even acknowledging and giving credit to Darth Dawkins, he spouts off for the same stuff.
He has no basis for the uniformity of nature. He has no basis for doing science.
You notice that when people start going, the voices get really high, and they get really excited because they know they're talking shit.
It's gone. Kaput. Biology, astronomy, chemistry, psychology, history, grammar, all of it is gone. There are no sciences without inductive inference. And
what is the point? How do atheists not have inductive inference and Christians do? He still hasn't answered that. I hope he does.
And you as a Christian, you understand within your worldview why we do all those sciences, because you believe in inductive inference and you got a good reason for it. The atheist doesn't. But here's his comeback. He will often...
Okay, so the atheist doesn't believe in inductive inference. I don't know where he gets that from, but from what I've just said, surely that's inductive inference when you can communicate with Voyager 2 since the mid-70s. Come on.
And say something like this. Well, very probably the future will be like the past, I can't tell you for sure that the marker is going to drop the second time.
Bullshit. Bullshit, Darth Dawkins. I can tell you for sure that the marker will drop. 100% for sure. I will stake my reputation on it. That if I hold a marker just in the air and I let go, I guarantee you that it will fall. I'll put my reputation on it. My pristine, unblemished reputation on that.
But very probably it will. And the reason why it very probably will is because it has always done so in the past. And here's where
it's like saying it's like when you pray to God for something, it never gets answered. So when you pray to God for something, and you rely on inference and in whatever he's talking about, you know that your prayer is not going to be answered, but you pray anyway, but you know that your prayer is not going to be answered, right? It's that type of cognitive dissonance that we're experiencing here. Darth Dawkins is very guilty of cognitive dissonance, but I don't know how cognitive he is of his dissonance.
Find out just how good your philosophical discernment is. Anybody notice the trick that was pulled right there? The person who says very probably the future will be like the past is smuggled right back into the argument, the thing he's supposed to prove.
I agree, but nobody says that. I can't think of any atheist who will say very probably the marker will drop. Everybody will say the marker will drop. That's science, baby.
Let me show you why. When I say that the future will probably be like the past, I'm basing that on what? Past information. What I'm saying is, please don't get lost in this. I'm
already lost. I don't know how you can not get lost.
Past, the future has always resembled the past.
In the past, the future has always resembled the past. Yeah. I don't get it yet myself. Okay, let's just try. All right, let's try this way. So in the past, the future has always resembled the past. All right. I think I even agree with that. In the past, the future always agrees with the past. Even Jenny agrees. Thank you, Jenny. My doggy.
Okay. If I go back to T1, it turned out that at T3, things were like at T1. I'm now at T5, okay? So I say between T1 and T3, between T3 and T4, T4 and T5, it's always been that way. So I assume that between T5 and T6, it will be as well. This looks like, then, a probabilistic argument. But you see, all probability arguments rely upon the assumption of uniformity. If you don't assume that the future will be like the past, all the probabilities from the past are just wasted information. Because if we live in a random universe, all bets are off. When the person comes back, I hope that wasn't too complicated.
It was. I'm just not following it at all. I'm pretty sure that anybody listening, in the audience there, or even you guys listening, watching this right now, couldn't follow that one.
Make it very simple. When the person says to you, probably the future will be like the past, you're going to say, well, you're just begging the question.
Well, he's right, because nobody should say probably the future will be like the past, especially when it comes to things like physics and chemistry. That's it. I mean, done deal.
Because that's the whole question. How do you know the future will be like the past? And they don't have even the first bit of probable reason for believing that unless the future is like the past. So it always comes back on itself. I'm sorry that so many Christians get bamboozled when it comes to that argument. It's such a strong one when they hear people say, well, okay, I don't know for sure, but very probably.
I do agree with him in that if that's what atheists are saying, if that's what the atheists that he's meeting are saying, then I agree. Those people are idiots. And I think every atheist should be honest. And stop this nonsense with the probably. With, you know, the 99 points, a million zeros and one probably. Yes, I think, but, you know, there's a chance that it'll turn into a dove. Don't go down that road. There's no chance it'll turn into a dove. Okay? You can't know. You say you know. Don't say you can never be 100% sure because you don't know everything. Bullshit. All right, Bill, you don't have to jump in, but make sure you put some matchsticks in your eye so you stay up and watch.
No, you don't even know very probably unless there's uniformity in the world. If there's uniformity, you can make a good probabilistic argument. But uniformity is the very thing we're debating right now. So you can't import that as an assumption to prove what you are supposed to be proving.
BS, nonsense, crap. I don't know what he's just said. You can't assume the uniformity of nature. It's just sorry, you can't do it. He hasn't given a reason, but you can't do it. If you're a Christian, you can do it, but you can't do it.
So what do we have here? We have two worldviews in conflict. And now the one worldview of atheism.
Atheism is not a worldview. Atheism is reality, if you want to put it that way. My worldview and all atheist worldviews are reality. If you want, I don't believe that worldviews and atheism actually even should belong in the same sentence. But my worldview is reality, because reality is reality. You can't change it. It always has been and never wasn't.
Ridicules you for your Sunday school faith in Jesus and believing the Bible and all that.
Oh, yawn!
But you know, with that very simple understanding of the world, God made the world, He made me, He sent His Son to die.
See, God made... I still don't understand that science lab thing. He still hasn't explained that. That because he believes in God, he can go to the science lab. I, on the other hand, as an atheist, as a atheistic materialist, no, you cannot go to the science lab. You have no reason to go to the science lab because you don't believe in God, and the only people who belong in the science lab are Christians like myself. Darth Dawkins. But
for my sense, that very simple worldview, I can do some real powerful things. The whole history of science is based upon that assumption, that God controls the universe in a regular way and gives man the mental capability to have dominion over the world.
That is a lie. I'm going to repeat the lie. Tell me that this is not the biggest lot of bullshit you've heard, okay? I probably went back a little bit too far, but
you know, with that very simple understanding of the world, God made the world, He made me, He sent His Son to die for my sins, that very simple worldview, I can do some real powerful things.
I think I didn't go back at all.
When the person comes back, I hope that wasn't too complicated, unless the future is like the past. If there's uniformity, you can make a good probabilistic argument. But uniformity is the very thing we're debating right now. So you can't import that as an assumption to prove what you are supposed to be proving. So what do we have here? We have two worldviews in conflict. And now the one worldview of atheism ridicules you for your Sunday school faith in Jesus and believing the Bible and all that. But you know, with that very simple understanding of the world, God made the world, He made me, He sent His Son to die for my sins, that very simple worldview, I can do some real powerful things. The whole history of science is based upon that assumption, that God controls the universe in a regular way and gives man the mental capability to have dominion over the world.
That's the lie that I was looking for.
The whole history of science is based upon that assumption, that God controls the universe in a regular way and gives man the mental capability to have dominion over the world.
The whole history of science relies on God.
I can build factories and send rockets to the moon and bridges and cure polio and do all sorts of things, not directly from the Bible to a cure for polio, but given the biblical worldview, then I can go out and learn more about the world.
Hey, well, if the Bible cures polio, why can't it cure COVID and tuberculosis and hepatitis and all the other itises and diseases out there? Come on, Bible, do your work. Bible, you had one job and you failed.
Use inductive inference and someday cure polio. But given the atheist worldview, you can't even go to the lab the very first day.
That's what I don't understand. What do you mean you can't go to the lab the very first day? Please explain, Darth Dawkins.
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. Okay, I'm sure there's more to this.
Now you may be sitting there thinking, but atheists do science, Dr. Bahnsen. In fact, many atheists have done and accomplished more than Christians in science. Mm-hmm. And I agree with that. So we'll come back to that. It's not really a problem. Well, let me give you the answer. It just goes to show that atheists are not very good atheists. It goes to show that they say one thing with their mouth and believe another thing in their heart.
Right. If you're an atheist, and you go to the science lab, then you're not a good atheist. You hear that? This is what Darth Dawkins can say to you with his straight face, looking you, right in the eyeballs. If you're an atheist, you cannot go to the science lab because you're an atheist. Let's listen on.
They say there is no God, there's a random universe, but in their heart of hearts, they believe in regularity.
Okay, so we say there is no God. We also say that there's a random universe, and in our heart of hearts, something or other, something, I don't know, whatever that, heart of hearts. What the fuck does that mean even?
They don't worry, they worry in the cautious sense that any scientist should, that they might have an explosion or something like that. But they don't worry that if they've done some safe procedure many times in the past, tomorrow it may blow their head off.
Oh, really? Where do you get this information from, Darth Dawkins? Yeah, I think my dog's really starting to get a little bit piqued at what Darth Dawkins is saying. You gonna survive? You gonna survive Greg Bahnsen's plagiarism, doggy?
But given their view of the universe, they should be very worried. They have no way of knowing what's going to happen in the future. The problem of induction undermines materialistic atheism because it makes science impossible. If I were a materialistic atheist and I held to that view consistently, I wouldn't worry about stubbing my toe tonight. Because for all I know, that'll be the thrill of a lifetime.
Stupid.
For all I know.
Stupid.
Okay, let's talk about the problem of deduction now.
Do we really want to? I think I've heard enough, and I'm ready to just turn it over to the room. Come on in and tell me that I'm still sane or insane for actually watching 15 minutes of this or listening to 15 minutes of this. So I'm taking it away from you. It's like I'm taking your toy away, all right? If I can find it, I'll take it away. There we go. Bye-bye. Excuse me. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. There we go. Okay, so let's see. I would like the room. I'd like to give the room enough time to be joined by those who would like to join, and as such, I'm going to give it. Hold on a sec. Please, as there we go. There we go. All right. So here's the deal. Here's the deal, ladies and gentlemen. We'll take, say, I don't know, 15 minutes, and I want to see what's on the table there. 15 minutes. Okay, I don't know how long that is. I don't want to listen to this guy anymore. Okay, we can come back. If anybody can remember, we're 15 minutes into this this talk. If we ever want to pick it up again. Okay, so what am I trying to do here? Huh? Oh, right. Okay, I'm going to play a talk for 15 minutes. It's a lot. It's a 45-minute talk, but I'm going to play it for 15 minutes and get the clock ticking, and wait for someone to join. Or anyone not to, whatever. At the end of 15 minutes, either we'll have a scintillating, vibrant chat room going, talk room, conversation room, or I'll just shut it down for the night. All right. So let's start off with. This is a talk by Caroline Glick. That's all I know.
Thank you all for coming and to hear me talk about my new book. And as David said, I wrote it in a context, in a historical context that we live in, which is where surrealism and delusion is governing the policies of so many governments in the Western world, where we have chosen to believe fantasies rather than craft our policies on the basis of reality and the facts on the ground. So just to give you, sort of, before we dive into the book itself, just to give you a sense of just how out of control the reality has become as a result of this delusional view of reality, I just want to recall a few very recent stories. And I could add one that I just got today in the morning, but I'm just going to start with something that happened 2 weeks ago at the National University of Ireland. A pro-Israel speaker, a professor by the name of Alan Johnson, came to the campus to speak against resolution of the student government to boycott, divest, and sanction Israel, that is, to wage economic warfare against the Jewish state in a discriminatory manner against Jewish businesses. So Alan Johnson came to speak, and he was shouted down by extremely violent protesters who cursed him in the most vile fashion and demanded that he be expelled from their campus immediately. Then right here in Los Angeles, we saw a couple of weeks ago that when the BDS resolution was rejected by the student government, that one of the members of the panel broke down and started crying in seemingly mad fashion that her life had just been destroyed by the fact that University of California at Los Angeles decided not to wage economic warfare against the Jews. Yesterday, I got an email from Tammy Benjamin, who's a Jewish hero here in California, who has been fighting anti-Semitism on University of California campuses. And she discussed a recent hearing that was held before leaders, administrators, I suspect, of the University of California about the anti-Semitism that Jews on college campuses here in California suffer. And she brought the testimony of a couple of the students before that panel. And one, a neuroscience major at UCLA named Omer Hitt, said, "We constantly hear the term Zionist used as a dirty word, as if supporting the liberation and self-determination of a historically oppressed minority in its homeland is something to be ashamed of." You know, when I was watching that woman in UCLA break down and have a nervous breakdown after her university decided not to do something execrable and bigoted and anti-Semitic and hateful and Nazi-like, something sort of clicked inside of me. I looked at her on my screen and I realized that she is absolutely convinced that Israel is Nazi Germany. She thinks that tolerating pro-Israel voices like Alan Johnson, like Omer Hitt at UCLA, like me, I would assume, is to cater to evil. It is to collaborate with the Nazis. She looks at Jews, she looks at non-Jews who support Israel, the Jewish state, and she sees in them Nazi stormtroopers. In order to do this, of course, she has to know nothing about Jews, nothing about Nazis, nothing about history, nothing about anything. But hence, the state of higher education in much of the Western world today has allowed this kind of delusion to take hold and dominate the discourse. Israel is considered Nazi Germany. And yes, in order to believe that, you have to not know about anything at all that has happened in human history. But again, this is the state of higher education throughout the Western world. Now, the question is, how did we get here? How did it come to be that today at University of Michigan, the university government administration is siding with open anti-Semites who gave death threats to Jewish students and called them kike and dirty Jew because they voted to table a BDS resolution in the student government, and the university administration demanded that they take a vote right away, under the gun, literally, to pass a BDS resolution at the University of Michigan. How did we get to this point? There are a lot of reasons, and the work that the center does in explaining a lot of what's happening on the college campuses is essential to understand. But I want to look at it from an Israeli perspective. 20 years ago, this wouldn't have happened on US college campuses. In 1993, I graduated from Columbia in 1991, and this was the capital of anti-Israel agitation with Edward Said on the faculty. And despite that, this would never have happened 20 years ago, or 22 years ago when I graduated. But it's happening all over the country today. How has the status of Israel and Jews on campus deteriorated to this degree in the past 2 decades? And I submit to you that the answer is the Oslo process. The answer is the peace process. The phony peace process that Israel undertook with the PLO in 1993 is a central cause of the legitimization of anti-Semitism in the Western world. Now, why is that? Why is that? Thank you. The reason is because the peace process with the Palestinians, with the PLO, with the Palestinian Liberation Organization, terrorist organization, the architect of modern terrorism, is based upon certain assumptions that are all anti-Semitic. The two-state solution is based on the proposition that all or most of the violence emanating from the region, from the Middle East, and coming to the United States, whether on 9/11 or at any other time of day, is due to the absence of a Palestinian state. I'll give you a quote. In 2010, President Clinton said that the creation of a Palestinian state would, quote, take about half the impetus in the whole world, not just the region, the whole world, for terror away. It would have more impact than anything else that could be done. So here is the former president, and I dare say that Condoleezza Rice and George Bush felt the exact same way. Hillary Clinton feels the exact same way, and we see today, day in and day out, that President Obama and John Kerry believe the same thing. This is bipartisan. They truly believe that the source of instability, depravity, pathologies of the Muslim world are due to the absence of a Palestinian state. And once a state is created, we are going to have heaven on earth. We're going to see nirvana. The end of terrorism, the end of jihad, the end of misogyny. Everything will be fine, and unicorns will come and dance with wolves and wolverines. It will be wonderful. All we need is a Palestinian state. And who's responsible for the absence of that state according to the two-state paradigm? Israel. Israel. Those grubby Jews who will not give up enough territory to satisfy the PLO are responsible for the absence of peace, not only in the region, but throughout the world. If Israel would stop allowing Jews to build in Judea and Samaria and in Jerusalem, stop respecting Jewish property rights in these areas, and if the Jews would just leave those areas and give them lock, stock, and barrel to Palestinian terrorists who remain bent on their destruction as a nation, then everything will be fine. That is why we can see American policymakers at the height of the genocidal Syrian civil war getting bent out of shape when the Israeli government allows 200 new housing units to be built in Efrat, right, in Gush Etzion, or in Ma'ale Adumim, or in Ariel, or in Jerusalem. This is why, because if this is the problem that is causing every other problem, then obviously the worst people in the entire world are Israeli right-wingers who insist that we should be allowed to build. They're the ones who have to be called to task as often as possible until they are shunned by Israeli society and deprived of all legitimacy worldwide. And I submit to you that Israel's embrace of this paradigm has hamstrung it. It cannot truly defend itself. The moment that Israel accepted the notion that to make peace with the Palestinians, you have to give land to Yasser Arafat and his minions, Israel disarmed itself completely from a rhetorical perspective. It can no longer defend itself. And so instead of going on offense and saying, you are terrorists, you have no right, you don't care about national self-determination, all you want is to destroy Israel, and we're not going to let you do it. You can't do that. So Israelis talk about defensible borders. We talk about what an open and pluralistic society Israel is. We talk about the fact that we're a startup nation, the indispensable engine of technology worldwide. We talk about the fact that we're the only liberal democracy, and as a consequence, women have full and equal rights in Israel. Homosexuals have full and equal rights in Israel. All religious groups have full and equal rights in Israel. We talk about these things, but for that woman in UCLA, and for those protesters in Ireland, and for the rioters and anti-Semitic haters and violence doers at University of Michigan, none of this matters. They couldn't care less, because as far as they're concerned, Israel is sitting on somebody else's land. And if you're sitting on somebody else's land, what do we care that you need security? What do we care that you're human rights respecting? What do we care that you're a liberal democracy? What do we care that gays are treated well as opposed to hung from the center squares of cities like they are in Ramallah and in Iran? We don't care about any of that. You're the problem. Who you are, what you do with your time, we don't care. We know that you're the problem, and we hate you for it. And we hate everybody who likes you for it. It doesn't matter that you're right. It doesn't matter that you're nice. It doesn't matter that you're creative, and it doesn't matter that you're entrepreneurs. We hate you because we suffer because of you. And Israel, what can we say? We want peace. Well, if you want peace, get out of their land. Right? We hear this time after time after time. We just needed to defend ourselves, but you have no right to defend. So why? Because you're sitting on somebody else's land. And because you're sitting on somebody else's land, we have to worry about terrorism and take off our shoes at the airport. Right? I mean, that's essentially what has happened. So no defense that Israel makes, as long as it remains in this paradigm, is effective. Nothing that we say to defend ourselves under these guidelines in this intellectual straitjacket is effective, because we're at fault. And that's why you have people who truly believe that we're Nazis. So how do we fix this from an Israeli perspective? How do we fix it from the perspective of people who care about Israel and want Israel to be able to defend itself and want to be able to fight back against this anti-Semitism? I say, and the argument that I make, and that stands at the heart of my book and was my impetus for writing it, is that as long as you are not asserting your rights, you have no legitimacy. Israel is not the ghetto. Israel is not the Pale of Settlement. Israel is a sovereign Jewish state, and we are there by rights and by legitimacy, in accordance with international law and our national rights as a Jewish people. And the reason why all of this is important is because if we're not there by rights, then we have no right to be there. And if we aren't able to assert these things, then we're losing them. And we see we're losing them. We're losing the battle not on Gush Etzion today, not on the settlement blocks or whatever you want to call it. We are losing our rights to Haifa, to Tel Aviv, to the Negev, to the Galilee, because it is indivisible. From the enemy's perspective, this isn't BDS against Jewish settlement products. This is, we want to economically boycott Jewish products. They may say every once in a while, but even Salam Fayyad said, no, I want to boycott the Israeli economy, right? That's what he said. He started off with the settlements, and then within 6 months, he was on the whole Israel. The cat was out of the bag. There's no distinction. Because again, if we're not there by right, then we have no right to be there. So I said we have to assert our rights. Now, what does that mean? Israel is, in accordance with international law, as I explain in my book, chapter 12. Our international legal rights to Judea and Samaria are stronger than any other people's. As David said, they were under Ottoman rule for 400 years, and then the Jordanians illegally occupied them in 1949 and held them until 1967, but the post-war determination of sovereign rights over the land of Israel that took place in 1922 determined that the sovereign rights to those areas belonged to the Jews alone. And that determination by the League of Nations mandate for Palestine has never been superseded or abrogated. It was never allocated to anybody else, and everybody who keeps talking about UN resolutions and international legitimacy is talking about lawfare, not about law. There's no legal basis for any of the Palestinian claims. Now, their claim to self-determination is, in fact, a claim. But you can fulfill a right to self-determination in any number of ways. And by the way, they've had self-determination for the past 20 years. At any rate, the main thing that now everybody says we can't do it, if Israel remains there, it's going to cease to be a Jewish state, is based upon what? It's based upon demography. Right? Say, the Palestinians are about to outnumber Jews west of the Jordan River. Tomorrow, or maybe the day after, there are going to be more Arabs than Jews, and all that they're going to need is a plebiscite to destroy Israel. So that's another lie. That's another lie. There is a hero sitting right here in this room. His name is Bennett Zimmerman. Does everybody know him? Stand up for a second, Bennett. I talk about Ben in my book. Ben was driving, I think you told me, he was on vacation with buddies in Israel, and they're driving through Judea and Samaria on the way up north, and he said, where are all the people? Where are all the Palestinians that everybody's talking about that are about to, that are multiplying like gangbusters and are about to overthrow the Jews? Well, it works out that they weren't there. So what did he do? He got together a bunch of people who understood how to count. My son is 4.5. Give him like 2 years, he can join the team. But no, seriously. What happened was in 1997, the Palestinian Authority put out a census. And it was interesting because while they were conducting it, as I cite in my book, the chapter on demographics in the book, the head of their the director of their census bureau is a guy named Hassan Abu Libde. And Hassan said to the New York Times that the census was going to be a demographic intifada. Now, how could a census be an intifada? What does that mean? How could statistical data be the statistical equivalent of a terrorist war? Well, we found out when it was published, because what they did was falsify data on a massive scale, as Bennett and his colleagues showed. They increased artificially the number of Palestinians living west of the Jordan River by 50%. That would be like the U.S. Census Bureau just, magically claiming that there were an additional 100 million Americans living here. And then everybody swallowed it whole instead of checking the data, which was completely out of whack with the surveys of the Palestinian population that were undertaken by the Israeli civil administration every single year from 1967 through 1996. But nobody said anything. They swallowed it whole. Not only did they claim that the Palestinian base population was larger by 50% than it actually was, they also extrapolated from that birth rates that have no peer throughout the world and mass immigration rates. When it worked out that not only the Palestinians, but the entire Islamic world, beginning in 2000, began a demographic collapse. So we see, for instance, in Iran in 1979, at the time of the Islamic Revolution, women were having 8 children on average, and today they have 1.7. They're below replacement rate in Iran. And these are the numbers that are going on in Yemen, in Saudi Arabia, in Egypt, in every country in the Arab world, and also among the Palestinians at a lower rate, albeit. But it's as a consequence of the education of women on the one hand and urbanization. And these are trends that we see throughout the Islamic world. This was a UN survey that was put out last year showing that the collapse in the Islamic demographic statistics has no equal in the history of recorded demographic data. This has never been seen before, but the Palestinians are following this overall trend. So in 1997, they had about 4.5 children per woman in Judea and Samaria. Today, they have less than 3. And at the same time, Israeli families have decided to go forth and multiply. So that we see a rise in the number of children per woman in Israel from 2 to over 3 in the past 15 years. So Israeli women are actually today having more children than Palestinian Arab women in Judea and Samaria. But you'd never know that. And at the same time, what we're seeing rising aliyah rates, rising immigration of Jews, due in large part to the rapid rise of anti-Semitism throughout Europe, both East and West. And on the Palestinian side, you're seeing just a hemorrhage of immigration. Year after year, year in and year out, over 1 million Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza say they would like to emigrate if they could. 1 million. It's an enormous thing, and everybody's ignoring it, saying, no, it's determined already. It's preordained that Israel is going to lose its Jewish majority 5 minutes from now. 5 minutes from now. And we all have to be scared, and as a result, we have to commit national suicide by enabling the establishment of a Palestinian terrorist state in Israel's eternal capital, in our historic homeland, now. Because every minute that we